Right. Hello. Welcome, Exiles. You are listening to the 1912 Exiles podcast, the original, the biggest, the best Newport County podcast, made by the fans, for the fans, brought to you as always by our friends at the Riverside Sports Bar and in association with the Terrace Cymru podcast network. I am Ed and I'm joined for this short episode by friend of the pod, Marc Peplow. How you doing, Peps?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm all right. Well, we'll come on to
It's a good answer. It's a good answer.
Yeah. We'll come on to the pain of this weekend in a moment.
Yeah.
It's only a short episode this weekend, folks. We put out an episode midweek, a really good one. Do give it a listen. It was Reese and Jamie and listener Jack talking to football finance expert Kieran Maguire about County's recent accounts. It was a really fascinating deep dive into the financial sustainability or unsustainability of the club. And yeah, we kind of want to give that episode a chance to breathe, but we couldn't not talk about yesterday's game against Cheltenham. And next weekend's episode will be our live at the Riverside special. So if you're coming to the Oldham, then join us in the Riverside afterwards, and we will be there somewhere. Look out for the people holding microphones. That'll be us, and that will be a long form episode. But today, we've got to talk about that Cheltenham game, Mark. I wasn't there, although we'll come on to what I was doing nearby.
Yeah.
Later on. You were. So, I mean, let's dive into it. What were your big kind of takeaways? What were the standout moments from the game? Who stood out? What were the key moments? Talk us through it.
Well, like I said to you earlier, despite the look of the stats, the shots, this, that, the other, I think a lot of people that were there would tell you they were quite bored for a long part of it. I thought Cheltenham were good in the sense that they looked after themselves very well and they had the chances, well, they had enough chances to get a goal. I thought we played quite well. I thought we were well in the game. I thought attacking, we did some good stuff, which I think we've been doing for a while now, just haven't been doing the main thing of the game and putting the ball in the back of the net, which killed us in the first half against Crawley. And obviously has done the same now against Cheltenham. I think a big issue is that we started so well, we carried on doing really well, and then we sort of just slowly dropped off. And it was almost like, having seen the Barrow result, we went into the game going, okay, we want the win, but we're sort of okay with the draw here. We sort of faded into that insignificance of we can't go in the relegation zone today. And it did kill us, but I think a lot of fans came out the game not annoyed about our result, but more annoyed when they heard that Harrogate scored.
Yeah,
and I think that was
90
the story.
plus 9th minute.
99th minute, yeah.
It just felt like one of those days where the more time went on, the more you feel the tide sort of changing against us. I mean, I want to come back to goal scoring or lack of goal scoring later on.
Yeah.
But just on that point about the kind of dip in our performance over the course of the game and, you know, the tide turning. So I wasn't at the game, but I was in Gloucestershire yesterday, listeners. And so I was listening to the BBC Radio Gloucestershire coverage of it. And it's always interesting. It's interesting for two reasons to listen to the away commentary. Firstly, because listening to any other BBC radio station makes you immediately more grateful for how good BBC Radio Wales commentators are. But the main reason is to get that insight. And they were very complimentary of Newport. You know, before the goal and everything, they were saying Newport played really well. The work rate was good. The press was good. They were very impressed with James Kroll. And then you could feel, and this is my question to you, was it the confidence drained? Was it tiredness? Was it lack of quality? What was it that dipped off in our performance and that changed the game for Cheltenham?
I don't think it was necessarily lack of quality or tiredness, if I'm honest. I think the issue was we started to make tiny little mistakes when we were on the ball. And then what started to happen is, and it's happened a lot with us, hence why we're 22nd in the league, is that we start to leak from that, and that continues to leak, and we sort of get that habit going. Because for the first, I would say about 50 or 60 minutes, some people might disagree, I think a lot of people would agree, we looked like a really decent League Two side. You know, we were controlling the ball well, we controlled the area well, in the sense of if the ball came back out, we were the first to it. We kept them within the 60 yards of that we need to keep them in, rather than our 30 to 40 yards where we want to avoid the ball being in. And then as soon as you start to, like you say, the tide changes. As soon as you start to let them have a bit more in this 10 yards, then the next 10 yards, and the next 5 yards, it starts to become a thing of, oh, okay, we're penned in here. And they got a goal from a nice move in the final third, and that's literally all there was to it in terms of them getting the goal. And it's so frustrating because, like we said, we had a good game yesterday, but we didn't get a good result, which how many times do we want to say those words, and how many times do we hate hearing those words? But that literally is the story of yesterday's game.
Yeah. And, you know, you look at the stats, and I know that stats don't tell us everything, but we had 17 shots, but only 3 on target. So, you know, 17 opportunities and you get 3 of them on target. I mean, that is our problem in a nutshell. And it sounded as well as though we had players being caught offside quite a lot. I don't know whether that was anyone particularly who kind of stood out for that.
Not really anyone in particular. Obviously, you got the 2 strikers who are doing what they're doing. But realistically, I think a lot of it was just our same old go-to of get balls in the box and hope someone gets on the end of it, which has benefited us at times this season. Look back when we beat Tranmere, you know, we did that for about half hour, putting the ball in the box. It finally worked. It just didn't yesterday. I think I'm going to get called out on the podcast for saying this, but I think we did miss bringing on Campbell earlier. I think if Campbell come on earlier when we had that momentum, he could have been a part of getting a goal from a different moment, as opposed to my job just being put the ball into the box. And that was the same with Spellman when Spellman came on as well, because he does have that individual quality that he started to develop now. So I think that's what we started to miss when it got to a point after the hour mark where we were just, the game plan became put balls into the box and hope something sticks.
One other thing that occurred to me, and I was just thinking it through this morning, is the pressure now on James Kroll. You know, I think we've all liked what we've seen. He clearly wants to make it. I'm sure.
Yeah.
In time, he's got the quality. In a perfect world, you would want to say, well, you know, he can still be a bit part player this season and he can come good next season. But unfortunately, we haven't got that luxury, especially now with Nathan Opoku presumably out injured. So there is that sense. And I mean, I think Kroll has got the ability to do it, but there is that pressure now of, listen, in a perfect world, you get a few more months and a full pre-season under your belt. But actually, these are the 2 games now where James Kroll has an opportunity to show what he can do. If he gets goals in the next couple of games, then suddenly that like elevates his status amongst the fans and in the club. But he's got to grab it, because we desperately need one of our strikers now to really get amongst it. Like you say, we're getting balls into the box, we're creating the chances. We can't keep cursing bad luck. One of those strikers has got to grab the chance. And I think probably it is going to have to be James Kroll. And, you know, it's a harsh world, football. He's been thrown in at the deep end, but it's now, you know, whether you sink or swim in that deep end, right?
Yeah, and I think, you know, I don't think it's anything different to things we've seen before. Look at when we made the playoff final for the second time. Lewis Collins in the second half of the season, well, later in the second half of the season, had to become that bit of a player after, obviously, Scott Twine went out. Well, I say went out, when Scott Twine went back, rather. And I think that's something that we've seen before, even looking back to Ryan Bird. I know, obviously, he's a bit older, but there is the same similarity of, Sandy, we're in a situation and you need to be the person to... and I think that can only be a good thing for James Kroll. I think it can only be a good thing for him, because if he doesn't succeed, sure, he doesn't succeed, but he's not the reason we're getting relegated. If we do,
no,
but
absolutely.
as well, if he does well,
and it's
brilliant.
Yeah, it's that question of whether he thrives on the pressure, and if he does thrive on the pressure, then now's the time. And
the thing is, he's had to be the main man in the Welsh League as well. He's the guy they expect to score goals. I think maybe a big difference for him coming into this situation is because he hasn't been the main man. Maybe that's something that he doesn't get, that he doesn't enjoy it as much. This could be a big thing for him. This could be a really good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So Let's look at the context more broadly. Those of you watching rather than listening can see the beautiful graphic I've put up of yesterday's results. So Barrow lost at home to Walsall, which I've got to be honest, I was quite surprised by, but I guess that the exigencies of their midweek win maybe took it out of them. So Barrow dropped points. We obviously dropped points. And then of the other teams that are in there, Tranmere went down at home to Bristol Rovers, although, Bristol Rovers had to be on it. And then there was that 90 plus ninth late goal at Harrogate. I was driving back on the M5 and I lost the commentary. And I knew in the kind of 10 or 15 minutes that I was out of range, I pulled over at Avonmouth Services, retuned the radio, County had conceded and Harrogate had scored. And I was just like, oh, God, I nearly threw myself off the Severn Bridge. So, I mean, those are not great results. And if I switch to my other slide, here is the bottom four. So bottom, Harrogate and Barrow both on 36 points. Then above them on 37, us and Tranmere, 37 points. Tranmere have that game in hand, of course. Midweek, they are away at Cheltenham. So, you've got 2 points covering 4 teams. And I've put up here the run-in. Tranmere have Cheltenham away, Franchise away, and Grimsby at home. Tough set of fixtures. County have Oldham at home and Barrow away, as we all know. Barrow have Cambridge away, tough game. County at home, and Harrogate are away at Walsall and at home to Barnet. Now, the one thing that occurs to me looking at this is Tranmere's game in hand notwithstanding, depressed though we might be about our position, I think all of the other 3 teams in that mix would swap their position for ours. If you look at the run-in that we have, we are out of the relegation zone. All right, it's only by a point, and all right, our goal difference isn't great. But you look at the games that we've got, and I think teams would probably think Newport have got, the most, the best opportunity in their own hands, right? Is that your reading?
I think yes, but I also think, and I know it's not quite the same as the question, but I think we're all down there for a reason, in the sense that we're all terrible teams right now, and have been throughout the season. No matter if Tranmere have come down from where they were or this, that, the other, we're all in this position. I think the biggest thing that we all get caught up in is when we see a team win, like Barrow on Tuesday. It was like, oh, well, Barrow's definitely going to win Saturday because Walsall lost 4-0 the week before. But no, there's a reason Barrow are 23rd, because they can't back up a win. There's a reason we're 22nd. We can't back up a win. The only times Barrow, Harrogate, or Crawley have won 2 in a row is when they played each other or us. So I think fixtures, you're looking at them, and then I'm saying Cheltenham is probably quite kind on them because this will be 3 home games in a row. Probably a really horrible end for Tranmere there. Cambridge, if they can go to Barrow and win, they are up. And that gives me a remnant, I just butchered that one completely, but of when we lost 6-1 to Plymouth, while we were trying to survive. So that's hopefully the vibe I'm going for that with that game. A nice beating of Barrow, but I'm in the point where I don't want to predict those games because I don't think they are predictable anymore. I don't think anything's predictable.
No, I just hope that Cheltenham, having kicked the stuffing out of us on Saturday, make sure they kick the stuffing out of bloody Tranmere on Tuesday. Because it would be really depressing if we went to Cheltenham, played well by all accounts, came away with nothing, and then Cheltenham put in a half-assed performance on Tuesday night and Tranmere take points off them. But Tranmere can't seem to buy a win at the moment, so it's so tight. And like you say, we're at that point of the season where stupid results are happening all over the place. I just wish one stupid result would happen in our favour.
I just think that the biggest thing we need to do is not panic if Tranmere win on Tuesday. So I think last week we all got our knickers in a twist a little bit when Barrow won, even though it was extremely frustrating, and that took away a little bit from the really good performance we had at home against Harrogate. So my big thing I would say to the fans for this week is that Tranmere game, whatever the result, the position below us and the position where we are stays the same. That would also suggest Tranmere have to win their last 2 games as well. And until about 2 weeks ago, we didn't consider Tranmere. So the big thing is focus on Saturday. This is the biggest game of our season, biggest game probably since the playoffs or the Great Escape, is however you want to see it. So don't worry too much about Tuesday's game for Tranmere.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is absolutely right, and we will be saying exactly the same thing about getting along on Saturday. I mean, we stuck it at midweek, the serenity prayer of God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can,
100%.
and the wisdom to know the difference, right? I mean, we cannot control what Tranmere do on Tuesday night, but we can turn up in big numbers on Saturday. Not that is any guarantee of getting Cheltenham to play well, as we know, but that is the chance. I mean, other people have said it. If we were to beat Oldham and Barrow were to lose, then suddenly you're safe, right? I mean, I don't.
If Harrogate lose,
exactly. I don't think it will be that kind. I think there will be something to play for on the last day, but it could happen. So let's not find ourselves next Sunday morning saying if only. Like, all we can do is turn up and support. And, there needs to be a bloody big inquest after this season finishes, but let's save that for the 3rd of May. And until now and then, let's just get through this and give the team all the support we can.
And hopefully it's the most boring last game of the season for the neutral, where no one can go down. It's just one team fighting for the playoff, maybe one team fighting for 3rd place, and nothing at the bottom of the table.
So someone joked with me that, what if it's one where a draw is enough for Barrow and Newport and they just tap it around the centre circle? And part of me is like, that would be funny, but I wouldn't back us to not kind of do a back pass to the goalie that just goes through legs or something. Like it's one of those seasons. But yeah. Well, listen, we're gonna finish up in a minute, Mark. I will let you have the last word and do a shout out and a beef if you would like to. So any shout outs, any beefs?
I would say my shout out is to literally everyone who went to Cheltenham yesterday. I know it's one of our nicer away games in terms of travel, but in terms of the numbers, the noise, it made it feel like we were still fighting for something, which was really positive. And my beef, I'm not going to have one this week. I'm going to try to be positive because I don't feel as frustrated as I have done after previous games, because it's all in our hands.
That's the attitude to have, and what we will do, we'll save it, and you can have a mega beef when we do
yes. Next Saturday in the live pod.
Yeah, well, listen, thank you, Mark, as always. Appreciate you jumping on
no worries,
this Sunday lunchtime to chat about it. Listeners, do come along next Saturday for the Live at the Riverside show and have a chat. Win, lose or draw, it will be nice to talk about where we find ourselves in the situation going into that final game. But until then, as always, look after yourselves and each other, but most of all, keep it county.